Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music, and we'll talk about how you can play a song by Chris Brown called Love More. And it starts out with a really cool keyboard intro where you can play open D, and then go third on the B string, and then third on the G string twice, and then go to second fret on the G string twice, and then we go to third fret on the D string twice, and then open D twice, and then we go back to second fret on the G, and then third fret on the G string. And the notes you're actually kind of playing is going D, D, B flat, A, F, F, D, D, A, B flat. So you want to kind of play around with that. And that lick actually is kind of backing up, or well, the chord that would back up that lick is a D minor chord. And the way you play D minor, first finger is going to go to the high E string on the first fret, second finger on the G string on the second fret, and third finger on the B string on the third fret. And if you kind of strum just the D, G, B, and E, kind of the skinny four strings, that sounds a D minor chord. It sounds really sad. And so we kind of stay on the D minor for our intro, and actually most of our verse. And then, but a lot of times with a song like this, to make it more interesting, I like adding something called a strum pattern. One of my favorite strum patterns for a 4/4 is down, down, up, down. We'll talk about a couple different patterns. But if you just try that a lot on the D minor, you have down, down, up, down, D minor, down, down, up, down, D minor, down, down, up, down, D minor, down, down, up, down, up. And if you wanted to, you could even kind of throw in open D strings with that opening lick. Anywhere you got not a note on the D string, you can kind of almost throw that in. That open, 3 and open, 3 and 3 and open, 3 and open, 2 and open, 2 and open, 3, 3, open 2, open 3. So you could kind of play around with that idea too. And then on our verses, actually, we stay on D minor until, well, 8 times. We're using this strum pattern until we get to an E flat note in the bass, and this is kind of weird. An E flat note would kind of be on open D. We kind of got open D as kind of our bass through the intro part and throughout most of our verse, and then we're going to end up going to first fret on that D string for an E flat note. So you kind of hear that kind of happen in the bass. Now, one way to play an E flat chord actually is to kind of take your first finger and go to the G string on the third fret, second finger on the high E string on the third fret, and the third finger on the B string on the fourth fret. And if you strum just the top 3 strings, it kind of looks like a D major chord shape, if you know that. Then that's an E flat major. So you'd be on the D minor, and then we kind of be making a change to an E flat. Now, another way to kind of work that is using something called power chords, actually. Instead of playing D minor, you can actually play something called D5. And the way you play D5, first finger could go to the A on the 5th fret, third finger on the D string on the 7th fret, and if you kind of strum just the A and D strings, that would sound a D5 power chord. And then when we get to the E flat change in the verse, actually all you could really have to do is kind of slide that shape over. So now I got first finger on the A string 6th, third finger on the D string on the 8th fret. So kind of going from the D5 to an E flat 5 might be kind of a cool way to kind of make that change. Now there are a lot of other E flat major chords too, and most of them are kind of a pain in the butts. But you could do it as kind of a 6th fret bar, and then do second finger on the D string 8th, third finger on the B or G string 8th, pinky on the B string on the 8th. And that would sound an E flat major. Or you could kind of work that shape as kind of a double bar for E flat major. And I'm kind of using my third finger to cover the D, G, and B for that one. That's a major shape. Another possibility actually for the E flat actually would be kind of using the top 3 strings actually of that chord. You could even kind of add the second finger into the D string on the 8th fret and kind of make it a little bit thicker that way. So there are a couple different ways to kind of work that E flat. So if we took it through our verse form with our strum pattern, we have D minor, the down, down, up, down, D minor, 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 down, down, up, down, E flat, down, up, down, E flat, down, 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 down, up, down. Now from there we kind of go to an intro return actually, so we're back to our D minor chord. But something else that I like to add to songs like this too is bass notes. And a lot of times on that D minor, for instance, you could kind of take the D string and kind of add it in on the D string for kind of your bass down, up, down. And our intro really is kind of also our chorus. It's kind of all around the D minor. So we get the D minor with the D bass down, up, down, D minor with the D bass down, up, down, if you wanted to, you could just keep the D bass going, actually, if you're kind of covering that for yourself. If you really want to get the E flat bass in, and you're kind of doing the bar E flat, you'd have that bass on the A string. So the A bass down, up, down, E flat with an A bass down, up, down, E flat with an A bass. And it's possible also to take that D major shape that we're kind of using for the E flat and work it as a D string bass, that place we were just looking at for the basses. So if we try that through our verse form, then we have D minor with the D bass down, up, down, D minor with the D bass down, up, down, D minor with the D bass down, up, down, D minor with the D bass down, up, down, D minor with the D bass down, up, down, D minor with the D bass down, up, down, D minor with the D bass down, up, down, D minor with the D bass down, up, down, E flat. Play the D minor in different places. So where we're playing our D minor right now, we got first finger on the high E first, second finger on the G string second, third finger on the B string third fret. Another place you could play that same D minor shape, actually, and this is kind of cool because actually D minors could go to E major or E flat majors actually pretty easily, is we could go to the high on the 5th fret with the first finger, second finger on the B string 6th, third finger on the G string on the 7th fret, and if you can even play that with the open D, and that's still a D minor chord actually. And the closest E flat to where we are, actually, if we kind of go over one fret, and then kind of take the pinky and add him in on the B string on the 8th fret, that would be another way to play E flat major. So you'd have first finger on the high 6th, third pinky on the B string 8, third finger on the G string 8. So you could kind of work that D minor to that E flat voicing that way. Another place you could do it is if you take your first finger and kind of bar over the top 3 strings on the 10th fret. So I got high 10, B string 10, G string 10. That's another way to play D minor. And you're very, very close on that to slide over 1 fret to 11th fret and add in the second finger on the G string for an E flat. So that might be kind of cool to kind of use smaller voicings actually, especially if you're covering it and you're kind of thinking of different ways so that you can kind of use that E flat. You might want to kind of play around with that. Sometimes that looks impressive to move higher up on the neck. So if we tried that, and you could even switch between voicings while you're on a different chord, so that might be kind of a cool thing too. So we tried that through our verse. We'd have D minor, down, up, down, D minor, 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 E flat. Now, something else you may want to think about adding to the tune too is a 16th note strum pattern. What I mean by that is right now if you're tapping your foot to the bass or to the beat, we're kind of dividing that into 2 parts with our down, down, up, down, up. 1, 2, 1, 2, and that's called an 8th note. What a 16th note is where you divide that foot tap into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one of my favorite 16th note strum patterns is a long down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up. And what I mean by that is on the D minor, you do it down for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what you're doing on the first beat. Then on the second beat, you're doing down on 1, down on 3, up on 4. So then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. And then on the third beat, you're doing an up on 2, down on 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, up, down, 1, up, down, 1, up, down, 1, up, down, 1, up, down. And then on the last beat, you're going down, up, down, right along with the 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got down, up, 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 down. So all together, you got long down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, long down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, long down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, long down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up. And if you wanted to, you could even kind of throw in your bass with that. Kind of up, down, down, up, down, keep the D bass. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down, keep on the D bass. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down, keep on the D bass. Down, down, up, down. Or you can add more basses. Bass, bass, down, down, up, bass, down, up, down, keep on bass, bass, down, down, up, bass, down, up, down, keep on the bass, bass, down, down, up, bass, down, up, down, keep on bass, bass, down, down, up, bass, down, up, down, keep on the bass, down, down, up, bass, down, up, down, keep on the bass. actually what could be very, very cool with this particular song actually is to do something called drop D tuning, where you've got your open D and your open A, and you take your low E string and kind of tune it down to what would be a D note. So now you're retuning the guitar to D, A, D, and so on that D minor, it gives you a low, low D bass actually, and if with your intro lick actually, that might be kind of a cool thing, because then now you can add in the thick E, which is really a D note because we retuned it. So that might be kind of a cool thing to kind of try and add actually, is kind of getting that low D note. So that might be kind of cool to kind of play around with that. Kind of getting lots of low Ds. And I'm actually doing that hybrid picking, so I'm using my pick for my basses and then kind of using my fingers to play the upper notes. But that could be very, very cool with all those D minor voicings too, because then you've got kind of a drone and all the low strings that you can kind of work with. So you can even use those low three strings too as kind of your bass notes. You might want to play around with that and kind of get a lot of power with that D minor. Still works with your bar if you want to make that a little bit cleaner even with the D bar. So you're using your A string for your bass, so the low D string doesn't really matter. So that's the basics of how you can strum through Love More by Chris Brown. So good luck!